Welcome into the Blurred Wire. It is your host, King Whale, and today I have a very, very special guest. I'm so excited to have him on with us. This is my good friend Caleb. Caleb, say hello to everybody.
Howdy. Yeah, no, it's a real pleasure. I've literally watched some of the videos and I've thought like more than once, I'm like, man, I wish I was on this show with him. So
Right?
I'm glad I can be here. Yeah.
Yeah, see, so that's the key for any fan. If you are a fan of this channel, you never know, you might be on it one day. So keep liking, keep subscribing. This could be you right
Hey.
here in the seat. Usually we talk about music on my other podcasts because I think I've had you on a couple of times to talk about like different albums and stuff. But today we are talking about Supergirl. Specifically, we are talking about the latest trailer for Supergirl, and we are going to react to it right with you guys. So without further ado, here's the latest trailer for Supergirl.
Here's the thing. My cousin and I
I'm
have
already happy.
very different
I'm
ideas
Uh,
about what it means to be a hero. He sees the good in everyone. And I see the truth.
The brigands brought destruction to every corner of the universe. The galaxy must be defended.
Space Opera.
You cannot give up on me.
Now it's a party.
Oh, that might be a problem.
God, it looks so much like Lobo.
I know it's pretty colorful, but that's just so everyone knows we're good.
I'm going to tell you something. Only one of you is going to make it out alive.
We haven't been formally introduced.
Oh, that was pretty So that was the trailer for Supergirl. So I've already given my initial thoughts on like the Supergirl reaction trailer from when it first came out. So let's hear your first thoughts when you're looking at that trailer. What is it making you think of? And then we'll go into further of like Millie Alcock, Jason Momoa, Lobo, all the lore behind it. But what are you thinking when you first watch that trailer?
I have so many different thoughts. Like so many different thoughts. One, I think it's a really cool trailer. It looks really good. I'm definitely gonna see it like immediately when it releases. I'll be there in theaters. That's how it was when the first Superman movie released. I'm a huge Superman fan. I've got hundreds of Superman comics. Like I'm so serious.
So do you feel like Superman did David Corenswet do a good job of portraying Superman and Clark Kent in that movie? Because obviously that's probably one of the most iconic roles in film to take on. So how do you think he did?
I think he actually did the most accurate interpretation of Superman that there's been in decades.
Hmm.
Um,
Okay.
Even with the '70s Superman, the first original Superman, that was a really good take. Like they really emulated the energy of Superman really well.
Mm-hmm.
However, it was just ridiculous, right?
Mm.
Like there was too much plot armor. At certain points,
It's
Lois
still the
Lane got
70s. Yeah.
stuck, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Superman, he flew around the world to rewind time and stuff like that. It just there was too much plot armor. Superman was way too powerful. And as
Mm-hmm.
someone who has literally read so much of the comics, collects the comics of Superman, it's so much more true to Superman as a character and his power levels.
I did really think that like James Gunn definitely put his own imprint on it. I do
Mm.
think we did get to see I think David Corenswet really shined as Clark Kent. I do kind of wish we got like he was more Superman than he was Clark Kent in this movie. Like we saw him more as Kal-El than we really like. He makes a better Clark Kent, I think, than Henry Cavill because Henry Cavill is just too attractive to be a Clark Kent. Like, I'm sorry, it's just it doesn't work. But like, he put those glasses on David Corenswet. It kind of works. My only like, it was such like a very James Gunn like movie. Like at some point, we had like a floating baby head with holding on to Superman and a little baby in a pit full of like a river of like matter. And I know this is supposed to be a Supergirl reaction, and we're talking about Superman, but that was very James Gunn. And even though this movie isn't directed by James Gunn, it feels like you can tell Supergirl kind of has his fingerprints all over it. Because I feel like I'm watching almost like Guardians of the Galaxy vibes. Like it's not even Star Wars vibes. Like it feels more closer to Guardians of the Galaxy because the technology of like these different planets and everything, and how it's kind of going to be more of a space opera. Kind of like the it feels grittier, right? Like the tech, it's hard to describe, but like in Star Wars and Star Trek, a lot of the space vehicles tend to be very like shiny, I guess for lack of a better word, and kind of like out there. And here it feels like we saw like it's like grimy, spaceships and stuff like that. And it kind of felt like they just put. But I mean, you also got to remember, Supergirl is from space, so like it makes sense for this to be more of like a space adventure, especially with the villain being Lobo. So I guess that's the next part to cover. Lobo. How do you feel that he fits as the villain with Supergirl and Jason Momoa playing him?
Well, I thought it was two thoughts. One, I'll answer your question, but with the first thought, I thought it was such an interesting point you made where you're talking about how it feels like more of almost like a space opera. Supergirl, she is from space and everything. The comic that it's actually based off of, written by Tom King, who is an amazing writer. I suggest anything he's written. That is exactly the energy of the comic book that
Right.
that movie is inspired off of.
Mm-hmm.
It's a completely like cosmic space opera. The funniest thing to me though is that Lobo isn't even in that comic book. So that
Yeah.
whole story that, they're literally positioning this movie off of doesn't even have Lobo as a character. Besides that point, besides that frustration, I feel like Lobo as Jason Momoa as Lobo is a really good pick. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
as we saw in the trailer and as we saw those different pictures I've seen, he looks amazing. He
He
looks really
literally
good.
like, and I love that like it kind of manifested. Like this again is one of those fan castings that I feel like just got manifested because
Mm.
everybody talked about, wow, Jason Momoa literally looks like Lobo.
Yeah.
Like, why did he play Aquaman instead of Lobo? He literally looks exactly like him. Jason Momoa said, "Oh yeah, sure, I would love to have play Lobo." And James Gunn just made it happen. And he was like, that's what the fans want.
Yeah.
Everybody said he'd be the best casting. And now here he is. It's kind of like when we saw John Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic for a little bit, and the clips of Doctor Strange too. I do kind of like when movies executives will like listen to fans. So like it's kind of cool. Like obviously we don't know everything as fans, and sometimes we can get out of hand, and some things don't make sense. Like I've seen some crazy castings before that I'm like, I hope that never happens. But because this was like universally celebrated and like wanted, I feel like it'll work. Now, as long as Jason Momoa doesn't play like the villainous role that he did in Furious 10, which I didn't hate him in the movie, but I did not like the way he played that character as a villain, Dante Reyes. I think he's gonna go for much more of like just a doesn't care, like just the Lobo that we know from the comics, the Lobo that we know from Justice League Unlimited and all those other shows. So it seems like from the trailer he's gonna go more that direction and not like a like it feels like everyone kind of tries to recreate Heath Ledger's Joker over and over again,
Mhm.
and I don't think he's gonna go for that. And I think that's exactly what we want and what we need.
I think he is a really good casting. I do, as a character, I haven't read a whole lot of Lobo's comics. If you notice at this point, I'm a huge fan of making sure you're pure to the source material, and I've been into
Mm-hmm.
comic books for like most of my life. I love the stories. I love comics, and I want to make sure things are true to the source material, true to the character. And I feel like, from what I've seen, it does seem like he'll be true to the character. I do kind of wish that they went a little bit, just a little bit more, like a little bit more overboard, if that makes sense. Because the
Mm-hmm.
whole concept of Lobo as a character is that he's almost like Superman meets Deadpool meets Wolverine.
Right.
Like, just he's almost invincible. He's completely over the top and ridiculous. Like,
Power
just
wise, yeah. He's gone
exactly.
toe to toe with Superman many times in the comics.
Exactly.
You
And
know.
so I kind of wish like they brought that more into his makeup and his
Hmm.
outfit. Like if they made his eye makeup just a little bit more extravagant, his hair a little bit more like
Yeah,
voluminous, that would have
I
been
did
good
kind of
to me.
notice that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But I mean, again, it does kind of make sense. Like, I was actually kind of like, because in the comics, a lot of Superman's adventures kind of take place on Earth, but a
Mm.
lot of Supergirl adventures actually take place in space. Like the whole run where she was a member of the Red Lantern Corps, where she became
Yeah.
the known as the last. Like that was all the Green Lantern, Atrocitus, that villain. That was
Mm-hmm.
all taking place in space. So it makes sense for Supergirl's character, especially in the comics. Crisis on Infinite Earths was a spacefaring adventure that she had a prominent role in.
Yeah.
And like it kind of like when I think about Lanterns, which is the next DC project coming up after this, it kind of looks like it's going to be Earthbound, which was kind of disappointing. Like we were kind of hoping for like a cosmic detective story, not just like a Earth detective story. Because like, what's interesting about that? You know what I mean? Like it's kind of like, but special effects budgets and whatever. But it seems like it's going to be pretty Earthbound. So I think the fact that Supergirl is more spacebound kind of makes sense to her character and her storyline in the comics. And I also think it'll kind of help separate her from Melissa Benoist's portrayal of her. And did you watch Supergirl on the CW, the whole series?
I never finished it. I should finish it.
Ah,
I need to go
okay.
back and finish it. I watched the first couple of seasons and I did really enjoy it. She was a great
I
actress.
have to be, yeah, I do love Melissa Benoist's
Mhm.
character. I do have to be honest, like with most of the CW projects, there's a point where they kind of reach their peak and then eventually things just kind of go down from there because it's kind of hard to keep it going and they kind of got to know when to end it and how to end it. And so Supergirl the series, I won't say that it gets better, but it is
Yeah.
worth finishing. Like to me, my favorite was season 2. That was peak.
Hmm.
But obviously, all of Melissa Benoist's fights and everything took place on Earth. But she really did. I thought she captured the spirit of Supergirl well. In that, like, again, Superman is supposed to be like a Boy Scout. The way Captain
Yeah.
America is a Boy Scout,
Yep.
and she was like the Girl Scout version, like truth and justice. Now, obviously, Millie Alcock is taking a different take to Supergirl.
Hmm.
We saw her like partying and drinking and trying to cope with the loss of Krypton. How do you think that juxtaposition between like Melissa Benoist's, like what's the word? Not schoolboy, schoolgirl, Girl Scout. I literally just
Yeah.
said it 2 seconds ago. With Melissa Benoist's like Girl Scout portrayal and Millie Alcock's more like hardened hero, party girl, like what steps up to the plate when necessary. How do you think that's gonna juxtapose and affect the film?
I think that honestly, that is the best and most accurate interpretation of
Mm,
Supergirl that
okay.
they could make and implement for the film. I mean, I feel like Supergirl is lumped in too much when it comes to that whole Superman. He's like a Boy Scout. Like Superman and Supergirl are, they're relatives, but just like the concept of a normal relative, you guys are related, but you're not the same person. You have different
Mm-hmm.
personalities, experiences. Same thing with them. Superman, he's the last son of Krypton. But as a result, he's from Earth. He loves Earth. He's from Earth. He claims Earth and tries to get in touch with his roots. Supergirl, she's from Krypton. She remembers it culturally.
Mm-hmm.
That is where she grew up. That is her culture, and I feel like it's so much more true to her as a character that they're gonna from what we see and from other trailers that I've watched before. It
Mm-hmm.
feels like they're gonna explore just those themes that make sense, like survivors guilt, PTSD. I
Right.
mean, her whole not just like culture, like her whole world is
Yeah.
gone, and she remembers it. She's the true last surviving member of Krypton.
And it'll be interesting how because again, the storyline is always like Superman is always sent to Earth as a baby. That's the same storyline. Anytime they do a new 52 run or anything, Superman comes to Earth, he's a baby, he grows up here on Earth. With Supergirl, it has been different because the age difference between them is not really defined. So, like in
Mm-hmm.
the Supergirl series, they had her be sent to Earth as like a 8 or 9 year old girl, that was supposed to watch over Superman, and she got stuck in the Phantom Zone, and then she didn't end up there till he was already grown up, and then she lived on Earth and grew up because they wanted her to have those same like Earth origins. So basically, by the time the Supergirl series starts, it's already been like 20 years since the destruction of Krypton, and
Yeah.
and all those things happen. So when we pick up this storyline, I don't know how old she's going to be. Like, is she going to be like 18, 19 when she
Mm.
leaves and leaves Krypton and is sent after Superman and then ends up getting stuck and then he's all grown up? Because then it'll make more sense if, like, for her, the destruction of Krypton was like yesterday,
Yeah.
compared to in Supergirl, it was already like 20 years ago, because in the show she's like a 23-year-old, 24-year-old woman.
Hmm.
So I think that timing also, because it's not like clearly defined how different in ages Supergirl is. But I don't think they're going to have a storyline where she spends most of her time on Earth or grows up on Earth. So it seems like she's going to be like, could be like a 20-year difference between her and Superman, which is not unheard of. My cousin is like 20 years older than me, so it's not crazy.
No, no.
So, and it, or she could, maybe she could be like a teenager or something where it's going to hit a lot harder for her being on Krypton and watching it and seeing it get destroyed as she's like flying off in her pod. Because Superman as a baby is flying off while it gets destroyed, but obviously he has no perception of what's happening in the slightest. So I think that is a right way to go as well. Like, I mean, like my wife and I watched Supergirl, and I know like when she saw the trailer, she's like, people be like, "That's not my Supergirl. I don't know that girl. Like, that's not the way I remember it." But again, I do think in the movie sense, it's good to have Supergirl and Superman stand out with distinct personalities and
Mm.
distinct. David Corenswet is the Boy Scout. He already did that. So having Supergirl take on like more of a hardened stance and more of a tortured stance almost, I think it'll be good because it'll create some dichotomy between the two, because obviously they have similar stories and similar powers, but it'll allow their personalities to really shine.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think, like once again, I'm so much more happier with the way that they're taking this approach because I mean we're living in a time where originally, when a lot of these big blockbuster superhero films were coming out, 2008 Iron Man and everything past that, all of them were pulling their source material from the comic books,
Mm-hmm.
and it's gotten to the point where it's the reverse. A lot of these movies are starting to affect the comics, and so
Yes.
anything that people see in these
Good point.
big blockbuster films, um, they're not just they're not just pulling from that source material. They're editing. They're creating the source material now,
Mm-hmm.
and everything that people are creating as the comic books, which of course feeds back into the media, has a sort of it has a give and take relationship, has completely changed. And so I think it's so much better that with the concept of Supergirl, they're taking this approach where it isn't like the CW show. I think for that format, for a lot of the CW shows, the fact that those were already established characters where they already had sort of a network, an infrastructure, their friends, family, I
Mm-hmm.
felt like that was essential for the ongoing nature of those TV shows. However, even though that some people, like you said, your wife said, that's not her Supergirl, that
That's
uh,
loosely quoted. I don't know if that's
the
exactly what she said. I don't want to put her on blast here, but it's kind of what she meant.
well, like the movies, this movie Supergirl. Regardless, my point is the movie Supergirl is completely different from the CW TV show
Right.
Supergirl. But I think that's for the best
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of those CW shows took um, so much artistic liberties that were completely straight from the source material, and they were really good in their own right. However, with the way media is now, I don't think that they should get the right to be the defining factor
Yeah.
of where the media continues to grow.
I kind of agree with you. I actually don't really like when comic books start to rewrite storylines to
Hmm.
match the movies. Like, I've seen a lot of storylines that have rewritten the Avengers to make Captain America a founding member. I actually don't like that, because
Hmm.
even though obviously Captain America had to be in the Avengers because he's the most famous member of the Avengers, but we don't need to rewrite the original story and make him a founding member when he was not.
Yeah,
The Avengers found Captain America. And then there are TV shows like Avengers Earth Mightiest Heroes that actually adapt that accurately and show them, yes, yes,
such a peak show.
and show them freeing him from the ice, right? They were already established when he came in. Now, again, I understand him being he is the face of the Avengers. It makes sense. But I don't like when there's no need for comics to retcon because movies are an
Mm.
adaptation, but it's like, it would be like writing a book, having a movie being made off of it, and then rewriting your book to match more of the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, that's not like, why do we do that? We don't do it with books. Why are we doing that with comics? So, and obviously there are multiverses and things like that, so you can do like all kinds of different liberties. But I do see, like, that's a very good point. Like, now media is shifting to where I don't like the way that I want the comics to dictate the movies. I don't want the movies to dictate the comics.
The best way I can think of putting it is I feel like comics used to be the definitive edition in the storyline, and I feel like now the movies are the definitive
Mhm.
edition. And now the comics are being shaped around that.
Right. Like, if I have kids, I need them to understand that Captain America is not a founding member of the Avengers. I can't have my kids living in the world of lies. Like, what is this? Not gonna have kids though.
History can't
Yeah.
change.
You
I
can't
have to
change
say.
history on this. So yeah, but it definitely seems like they're taking a lot of source material from the comics.
Mhm.
And like I said, I think it just makes sense as an adventure. Like, even though Supergirl crash lands on Earth, why would she have any ties to Earth in this film?
Mhm.
If like you know what I mean? It's just kind of like, well, this is where my cousin is, and I'll just visit from time to time. So it kind of makes more sense. I haven't seen Millie Alcock in much, I don't think. But so far I think she'll do a good job. I'm not really worried about her performance or anything like that. The trailer looks fantastic. I think it's interesting because it almost seems like I'm wondering if the main villain is Lobo, but we kept seeing that one alien over and over again who appeared to be like the leader of a group. And like, I'm wondering if Lobo is more like his hired help or something like that. Because it seems like he kind of was taking the reins and the lead a little bit more, and Lobo was just like showing up and like, just blowing stuff up and just smiling and like riding around.
Well, I mean, if we're staying true to the source material, which I feel like, especially with Lobo, they're trying to. I mean, just with the appearance of the character, the fact that they casted Jason Momoa, they had that accurate build, physique, makeup, everything, then he'll be a what's it called? He'll be a when someone's for hire, because that's
Oh
what he
yeah,
does.
pirate for hire. Yeah, muscle
Exactly.
for
He's like a
hire,
exactly
mercenary.
mercenary.
Yeah,
Exactly.
whatever it
Then he'll
is.
be a
Yeah.
mercenary for hire. So
Hmm.
I mean, I could see him definitely being the villain in the movie, but in a sense, but more of like an anti-hero, because that's really what he is. A
Hmm.
lot of times is he's he's um he's not a good person by any stretch of the imagination.
No.
However, he does have an unyielding code. Whatever he says he's gonna do, he's gonna do. He
Like,
stays true to that.
there's one comic run where I think he's like a Caesarian clone, and
Mm.
when he finds out that he's a clone, he just murders them all, every single one, and he just kills her. And I don't remember what run that was, but like, basically on Caesarea, he found out he was a clone. He didn't like that, and so he just killed them all. And it was like, yeah, that's the kind of person that we're dealing with in the again, obviously New 52, different storylines about Lobo's origins. He's probably one of the villains that has like one of the most least defined origins, because in some he's a clone, and some he's just a bounty hunter, in some he goes on murderous rampages, other ones he's just all about the money. So it's very interesting to see what his motivation is going to be in Supergirl.
I haven't heard someone reference the new 52 in so long.
Oh.
No, no,
I
it's
came
good.
prepared. Came
No,
ready.
no,
I
no,
came
it's
ready.
good.
Yeah.
No, the new
Yeah.
50.
Yeah.
There you go. That's what's so.
Yeah.
No, the new 52. The new 52 is good, but I remember especially after the new 52. I think if I'm remembering the accurate run, they tried to make a Lobo comic, and it was not Lobo. It was
It
so
was not
bad. Is
not
that
my Lobo.
yes, hashtag not my Lobo. Oh gosh, that was so bad. But wow, no, yeah, I completely did not know about all that other stuff that
Oh
he
yeah.
did, but it completely sounds accurate. I mean, I remember at one point, I think there was one comic run where he literally like was decimated, destroyed, and like
Hmm.
regenerated from like an atom or like a single like cell or something like that. Just like anything that has to do with Lobo, the whole concept is completely ridiculous, over the top, and just really, I mean, fantastic in the strangest use of the word.
Yes, that is accurate. That is accurate. So, um, yeah, I guess anything else that you want to drop about Supergirl, this new trailer, Lobo, anything that's important for people to know before this movie comes out? I think 2 or 3 weeks. 2 or 3 weeks. I've been trying to get tickets and it's already pretty packed. So,
Mm.
probably gonna have to try to get those pretty soon. But anything else that people should know about Supergirl and this latest movie coming up?
Going with an open mind. I think that's the most important thing. I think everyone has a preconceived notion of what they think Supergirl is. And I
Mm-hmm.
think people also have the same preconceived notion when it comes to Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And like, they have the concept of, for example, Superman, that he's like this what's it called? All powerful, borderline omnipotent being. However, that's completely inaccurate. And one thing that I liked about James Gunn movie is that they straightened that out. They made it more accurate, and that aligns more with the comics. That aligns more with the source material and who he is as a character.
And I also liked how, like, I have some people that were like, I posted my review online of Superman. They're like, I didn't like the Superman movie because he kept getting beat up. And it's like, well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, like, come on. Like, he can't just win every single fight. But I did like the way that James Gunn outlined it because the way he started with like 3,000 years ago, metahumans came to Earth. 30 years ago,
Yeah.
Superman landed on Earth. 3 years ago, he announced himself to the world as Superman. And then 30 minutes ago, he lost his first, or it might have been 3 weeks ago, the country invaded Jaranpur, which that geopolitical conflict I thought was the best part about Superman.
Mm,
And then the 3 minutes ago, or yeah, 3 minutes ago, Superman lost his first fight.
mm,
And so I thought that was a good place for us to pick up because, yeah, I mean, basically up until this point, part, he had never lost a fight. If Superman showed up, you were screwed
mm.
until Lex Luthor finally had him meet his match with this clone.
Yeah.
So I also thought it would have been really funny if the clone was actually played by Henry Cavill. Like that would have been such like a James Gunn like moment. But it was still David Corenswet. It
Yeah.
was fine. It was fine.
I think for comic fans, I think they'll be really happy. They'll be really
Mhm.
pleased. I feel like as a comic fan with the Superman movie, I was really happy. I was really pleased. And they're continuing that theme, right? So for comic fans, I think they'll be really happy. I think for moviegoers, it'll be a new experience. And I think ultimately the biggest thing I could suggest is read the comic books. Read the
Right.
comic books, read the source material, because if you enjoy the movies, you'll enjoy the comics. And if you enjoy the comics, guess what? They'll make more movies. So
And it sounds like this will be a little bit more of a origin story for Supergirl. Like the way Superman
mm,
was already Superman, it sounds like in this movie we're gonna find out why she decides to become Supergirl. Because like in Superman, we had already established that he is Superman and he just is doing his thing. I think in this one, she'll probably already know how to use her powers, so we won't see her like discovering them. But she's gonna discover what it means to be Supergirl and why she wants to do it, which is kind of the origin story that we skipped over in Superman because everybody knows that Superman is why Clark Kent is Superman. But giving a chance to explore Kara Zor-El's story and why she decides to become Supergirl and have that like superhero moment, like I call it the pick up the shield moment because
yeah.
that's Captain America, have her pick up her shield and like ascend into the mantle, will be a cool moment to get. So yeah, let us know your thoughts about the trailer. Are you excited for Supergirl? What do you want to see? What do you if you're nervous about anything. And thank you again for joining us on the Blurred Wire. And thanks for coming on, Caleb.
Thanks for having me, man. It's been great.
Mm-hmm.